And I guess everybody's on mute, but air applause for Brian. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm honored to speak today, especially for the Arcadia Association of Realtors, where I'm a member. So thank you so much for taking this opportunity today, and I really appreciate it. So my name is Brian Gordon with Lotus Property Services. Basically, our niche with property management is really the multifamily realm here in the greater San Gabriel Valley. I started Lotus. I have a business partner, Vincent Medina. We started it in 2006, so it's been about 15 years that we've been growing our business and managing the multifamily properties here in greater Los Angeles. We have about 2,500 units that we manage. They're mostly B and C grade properties, mom and pop owners where they bought an investment, paid it off or they paid it down, groups of trusts, groups of attorneys, just individual people that purchased a multifamily property with the intention of just living off that passive income for their investment. So that's pretty much our core. We do have a portfolio of office buildings and shopping centers and everything, but our expertise really within the multifamily realm here in the San Gabriel Valley and kind of greater Los Angeles. So that's kind of our niche. And Lotus, we manage these properties for individual owners. It's really just fee management. So I feel we have a better pulse on what's going on in the marketplace right now because it's drastically changing. As you know, with COVID, everything that's kind of happened, we're really adapting to the environment of real estate, and we're really liquid in our industry. We've owned properties for a while, that we're constantly changing. Marketing's changing, vacancy rates will spike and go down. We've had a spur of lawsuits the last 10 years. You're constantly adapting your investment to just make sure you have the greatest return on it. So these individual owners, we manage their properties, and besides that, I'm a real estate broker. It's not all real estate brokers. We're fellow investors. I have small portfolio properties myself too. We're boots on the ground here in greater Los Angeles for knowing what is exactly happening with the market right now. So I'm going to flip back and forth through some slides, but I just wanted to give you basically a bio of why I would be the person speaking today for what's going on currently with multifamily properties here in Los Angeles. So the situation with multifamily properties here in LA, So I wanted to share a couple of slides. I'll jump back and forth, but today I'm talking about property management. I also want you guys to know about evictions. I'm going to give you some laws that are about to take place, and that's going to impact all of us that own properties, and kind of give you a pulse for where the market's going. It's a lot of gloom today. I apologize. I'm going to end this speech on a positive note of a few things that you can do to kind of brace yourself and impact for everything. But with the current situation that's going on since COVID, and if you think back the last couple of years, landlords have really taken a hit in California. We have imposed rent control. There are a lot of restrictions on private property owners' rights. You're really adapting to what's going on, and now we're facing COVID. And with COVID, a lot of regulations, both state and locally, that are impacting your properties, and it's causing great havoc. We manage about 2,500 units, and for the last month and a half, we've been tracking to get the statistics on what's going on, so I can properly convey that to you guys today. So what's happening is that vacancies are on the rise. In March, when COVID first hit, we actually skated through up until about July that people were actually paying. We started off, I thought it was going to be much higher, but it was actually 6% of our portfolio were taking advantage of the COVID forms. So that's been increasing almost 1%. every single month that we've been going on with this. So right now we're between 8 and 9% of our entire portfolio using those COVID forms. And basically the regulations that have been placed is you can't evict your tenants. You can't even collect the rent if you're filling out these forms. The courts are absolutely shut down, and now we're looking to March of next year before you could potentially evict any of your tenants for non-payment. This may be less of an impact for our property owners that, let's say they own a 50-unit building and you'd have, 8-9% of your tenant profile. Well, you're diversified. You're probably okay with a few tenants here and there not paying the rent, but what it's really impacting is our small owners. If they have a house, they have a fourplex, if you have a duplex and one half of your tenant base is not paying their rent, then 50% of your income is not coming in. And what we're seeing now is that's impacting the environment that we're in for these individual owners. So think of March up until about July. There was stimulus money, people were getting supplemental income from unemployment. And what we have seen recently within the last 45 days is that vacancies are spiking. We're getting mass exodus from some buildings. We have a property near a college, it's mostly students. And right now we're at 13% vacancy because students have moved back in with their parents. They're doing online college. Why would you want to pay, $1,500 or $2,000 a month in rent when you can go back and live with your parents? So definitely feel that vacancies are on the rise, and I think this is a greater premonition of what's going to go on in our economy over the next couple of years. I hate to give a lot of doom and gloom, but vacancies are definitely on the rise. And we looked at the statistics from why our tenants are moving out. What was the reason that they gave to vacate the premises? And then we're also looking at the statistics of, tracking each one of them. Why are they coming to rent from us? So it was around 68% of our portfolio within the last 45 days are either moving in or vacating the properties that we manage because of economic situations. They've lost their jobs, they're moving back in with families, they're downsizing. So, that's an indicator of the economy and what's going on. And I think we're really on the cusp of what is going to adapt or change in our industry within the next couple of years. Vince and I started this company years ago, so 15 years ago, we went through the recession of 2007, 8, 9, 10, and that was really impacting just the real estate environment. That was only us. That was not a global economic recession. It was just us, and I remember properties running 10 to 15% vacant at that time, and the marketing strategies that we had to put in place in order to just combat the vacancies that we were having. So vacancies are on the rise. We are feeling it right now, and we're definitely feeling it the last 30 and 45 days. So, as a property owner, I want you to brace yourself. We can't control the market conditions. I can't dictate the rent. I might be able to manipulate the rent and offer a nicer product and get you a little more in rent each month, but the market's going to be the market. And if you have in your mind the pre-COVID type of mentality where you feel your rent should be this amount, if you're having vacancies right now, definitely you have to do a market survey. Our property down by the college in Fullerton, as we're scrambling with a bunch of these vacancies, just this last week, we did an updated market survey to find that, similar buildings across the street are now offering 2 months free. And they're offering $500 security deposit movements. I haven't seen that since 2008. And we're all scrambling to get our occupancy up. So if you have vacancies in your multifamily properties, do your market survey. Find out what the market is, because the tenants know. They're very price conscious at this point in time, and they're going to look for the best deal, or if they get the extra 3 months rent. Make sure you understand the market conditions and keep a pulse on it. It's going to adapt, and it may even get worse. our portfolio right now, we're focusing on occupancy. You know, we realize we can't change the marketplace. We can't change the rental. We have to adapt to what the market's doing, and it's always better in multifamily properties to just focus on your occupancy, stabilize your income, and hopefully improve your cash flow the best that you can for what's going on. So that's basically with evictions or with vacancies, kind of what's happening in our marketplace. I'll flip through these, sorry. So vacancies are definitely on the rise. Our delinquencies, because of these COVID forms, they're at an all-time high. You have a lot of tenants that are strictly, you know, they're taking advantage of these forms. And as a landlord in this economic time and with all the regulations that are going on, basically your hands are tied. You know, there's not much you can do. You can't evict the tenants. They don't even have to worry about paying this delinquency amount until next year. You know, it's really a toxic little environment for landlords right now. But I'm going to give you a few points to hopefully help you combat, you know, the punches that we're taking as landlords right now. So our delinquencies are high. You have a lot of people using these forms. They're not paying their rent. Recent regulation just passed two days ago, the COVID Housing Stabilization Act of 2020, you know, extending out when we can evict, giving additional time up until early next year for the tenants to not pay their rent. You can't start an eviction. And there's going to be a flood of evictions when we are able, which is really looking at March and April of 2021. And that's not for these large delinquent balances. You know, that's going to flow over until the following year, offered payment plans. You're not going to be able to physically evict the tenant for the balances that you have. And you're really going to have to fight it in small claims and attempt to get some type of judgment. So delinquencies they're at an all-time high. And the new laws that passed with stabilization, we were actually a little bit pleased to learn that it wasn't as aggressive a couple of weeks ago that they were trying to pass. You know, basically the free rent for everyone type of movement that was going on. So it got diluted down, but it's not a good situation for landlords right now with the Stabilization Act that just passed. And I'll go into it in a little more detail. And then one of the other highly important things that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention right now is that now Prop 15 is on the ballot for November 3rd. And it's really scary for us multifamily owners because, you know, it's deceptively targeted and marketed as the schools and community first initiative. You know, that sounds like what we all want to help schools and the community. But what this does is it repeals Prop 13 and it raises the property tax assessments on income properties to the market value. I would guess 90% of the property owners that we manage their properties, they benefit from Prop 13. And, you know, when they bought their property, you know, it's basically increasing 2% for their property taxes. If you own your investment a long time, you know, maybe the market value is 3 or 4 million, but you're paying a property tax basis for $1 million. So this is a huge thing. You know, the state is looking to take the purse of landlords to the value of about $12 billion annually. And don't mistake what is happening with this, because to me, it's just a gateway into tapping into single family homes and raising them to market value. I own some properties in Kansas, and actually in Kansas, they already do this. You know, every year the county assessor will give me a value that they feel is the value of my apartment building. I have some mobile home parks. And, you know, every single year I have to basically fill out the forms and fight and provide my data and comps and everything to give my reflection of what I feel the current value is. And this, I think, is going to be mimicking what California will do if this really scary legislation passes and we're all faced with this. And another thing, I'm going to give you guys a link and you know, definitely email me. I'll give you all these slides and information that's coming along. But I was reading through the actual initiative last night because we had some questions regarding what defines commercial properties. And the way the legislation is written is, and I'm waiting on a confirmation from our attorney, and everyone's trying to read this because it just hit, but the way they define commercial properties, which used to be, 5 units or more, is that it's an income producing property. So potentially, even if you feel, okay, this is only going to affect the larger apartment buildings or the tier level type income properties, the way this legislation is written is if you have a single family home and you rent it out, it's not your primary residence, then that is defined as a commercial property because it's producing income. So it really kind of opens the floodgates to an additional tax revenue that the state's trying to, tap into with individual property owners. So this stuff is really scary, and it's scary right now when landlords are trying to combat not collecting rent. We're dealing with everything that's going on in the multifamily industry, the economic downfall of everything that's happening. And now if this passes for Prop 15, this is like the nail in the coffin type stuff that we're feeling out there. So I want everybody that's attending today to be hyper vigilant, talk to everyone, make sure that they understand what this is doing, that it's not really a schools and community first initiative, that it's going to impact the entire environment for commercial real estate, all owners, and it's probably just a slippery slide to getting into these single family homes and the primary residence of having an environment where you're taxed based on what they feel the market value is. So that's really scary stuff in our realm. So what I wanted to kind of pass along to you guys in the next slide, which is kind of exciting, is this is the map right now for what is going on with the COVID Stabilization Act. And there are a couple of maps. This one's from a law group that looks good. I have another one from the California Association of Realtors that also I can email you guys. But this is the toxic mess of how you're going to solve your legal problems to collecting the rent from your tenants. And I know this flow chart looks really scary. That's because it is. When we're able to go back and we can file evictions on these tenants, think of every maneuver that has to happen in order to evict a tenant. And if you've had, unlawful detainers within the last 5-6 years, you realize that unfortunately it doesn't make financial sense. And unfortunately, you're at the beck and call of the legal system that, in my opinion, is highly broken. It's not speedy. The Shriver Act basically gave, all of the tenants facing some type of unlawful detainer free legal aid. They create an extortion type situation where they're filing ex partes, they're requesting jury trials, and you're basically going months upon months. It's not uncommon for an unlawful detainer to take 4 to 6 months, and that's pre-COVID. And for all of our owners, now we're going to have over a year of backlog of unlawful detainers. And even the way that this is written, when you try to get that judgment from the small claims court, and that's really going to be 2023 or 2022 at this point, the way that it's written, it actually gets the judge to decide if they feel that balance amount is even fair. So you could find out that you have a $20,000 balance, you go to small claims court, which they elevated the small claims limits just for this COVID stuff. But you may find out that the judge feels the balance is, $5,000. And then you're going to get a judgment to try to collect on your tenants for $5,000, not even the $20,000. So this is the mess that's happening. And, it's important to read the laws because you have the state regulations that are going on. So we have state regulations that are kind of guiding us through this. But a couple of months ago, Newsom opened it up and he allowed the individual cities to do their own regulations, to pass whatever type of COVID relief laws that they wanted individually for their cities. So if you own these properties and you're even trying to figure out, can I serve a notice for my tenants? You know, when can I serve it? So look at the statewide first, and then look at your local ordinance of where your city is. Because in our office, you know, we deal with hundreds of different cities, and we're literally scrambling to make sure that we're in compliance with each little city's local ordinance, and if that conflicts with the state ordinance. So it's a, you know, entire mess out there these days, but make sure that you look at both of those, because you may find that your local ordinance is actually more restrictive than the state ordinance, and you need to follow the more restrictive ordinance that's going on for the COVID relief. So I know Burbank, they passed a highly restrictive one. Pasadena has one that's very similar. You know, that's going to be different than the city of Arcadia. Baldwin Park recently just passed a new rent control. So all of these little cities are trying to adapt, and it's the Wild West out there. They're just passing laws based on whatever local things they feel that's impacting all of us property owners. So make sure you understand that. It's definitely impacting all of us. So the next slide, oops, sorry guys. The next slide that I wanted to give you is in regards to the Prop 15. Definitely, you know, I want everybody to be informed on this. You know, I only learned this not that long ago that it even snuck on the ballot. And we all have to be vigilant to combat this, especially in the position that we're in right now, because landlords are suffering. You know, we've had so many restrictive laws that have passed against us, even within the last 6 months, and our hands are tied. And, you know, it's restricting the private property rights of individual owners. And, you know, I worry it's going to take the passion out of real estate for a lot of people wanting to invest in this great thing that is income property. Because it's so restrictive, and we found that, you know, the state and the local governments are now controlling every aspect of our properties, and you really are limited on how you maneuver through your management and your assets. So it's really scary stuff. So with Prop 15, I just want you guys to be informed. I want you to be out there, have as much information as possible, so you can make an informed decision and get the word out that this is happening. It's probably going to even be worse in the next couple of years if it does pass, and make sure that we can defeat Prop 15. So let's move on to some positive things that I think that you guys can do with what's going on in our environment today. So one, you probably have tenants that aren't paying their rent. And what we started doing about 2 weeks ago in the office is we knew this law was about to pass, the housing stabilization. It was looking even scarier than what it ended up coming down the pipeline. So you need to make financial decisions for your best interest with your income properties, and have an eviction strategy. For myself, you know, I follow kind of the same mindset and philosophy as all of our owners when it comes to managing our investments. Is you want to look out for your best financial interest. And if you've had a tenant that's not paid and they've continually using these forms and they're racking up tens of thousands of dollars, you know, you might be upset with that tenant knowing that they've been on unemployment, they probably got a stimulus check, they could even still be working. You know, even if they have the funds and you realize that they're kind of milking the system, look at your best financial interest, because right now we are trying to do basically either a cash for keys, waive some of that discounted balance. I'd rather see you get the vacancy and deal with the market and the vacancy than a tenant that may ride this out another 5 months and you don't have your income. You know, your income's not coming in. So have an eviction strategy. Make sure that you do it based on financial decisions, not emotional decisions. And I would work to mitigate the situation by trying to get the tenants to move out, or maybe even a discounted amount on that balance if they can pay some money now. I know I negotiated a couple of them for our office the last couple of days. And, you know, it was just really having communication with the tenants. They know they have this balance. If you can go to them, one, she owed $6,800. I basically just negotiated with her and I got the owner $5,000 yesterday. And my owner was elated to get $5,000. And I knew that we couldn't even potentially collect on that large balance up until late next year, at the end of it, with small claims and a judgment against the tenant that they don't even have to pay. So really kind of look at that eviction strategy and work out a plan that's going to be of your best financial interest. Because tenants know they have that balance. If they can work with you in any way and you can get some money coming in your pocket, if you get 75% of your rent and you have it now, that's better than potentially thinking you're going to get 100% of that via judgment in a year and a half. It's just make financial decisions. So again, I want you guys to know the current law in your area. It's really scary stuff. We can go back to that map of how you're going to evict them and everything, but I recall a couple of years ago, I was in eviction court in Long Beach, and the new laws had passed about a year before, and every form is different. And even with the new Stabilization Act that passed, you now have to have clauses regarding COVID-19 and giving them an opportunity to fill out forms, and there are disclosure requirements within the notices that impact what you're doing. And like a couple of years ago in Long Beach court, everyone knows the 3-day to pay. They recently passed years ago that you have to say the person and where they can pay it. It has to be a disclosure at the bottom of that. And the lady in front of us before court, she got all the way to court. Her tenant hadn't paid in 6 months. She's there with the judge, and the judge realized that she had the wrong form, and she dismissed the case. And that poor owner before us was devastated because she had spent 6 months trying to get in front of the judge, and the judge realized that she had the wrong form. It got dismissed, and now you have to start all over. So as you're looking at these different notices, realize they've all changed. You have 15-day notices now. The 3-day notice is also changed. When you can evict on that, you're really looking for March of 2021. But make sure you understand that, because now you have a whole new set of rules for requirements for these forms, and that's going to trickle down into the unlawful detainer realm when you do get in front of the judge. And what I don't want you to do is have a lot of money, time invested in trying to evict your tenant, and then you realize that you were dismissed. Your case was entirely dismissed because you were using the wrong form. So know your current law and follow what is the most restrictive guidelines, either through the state level or the local level for the cities, and make sure you just follow those. My third tip of advice would be simply to communicate with your tenants. A lot of the tenants, they realize they have these balances. They see them escalating. A lot of the media that's out there and the push right now, we were all scared a couple of months ago that they were just going to waive rent. There was going to be free rent for everyone for as long as the emergency mandate was happening. So that was really scary. But think of your tenants' mentality. They see in the news, okay, they may not have to pay rent. Tenants are savvy to all of this stuff right now. So establish lines of communications, even if you had a disagreement with them and you feel that your relationship is strained. Reach out again. We're all dealing with these situations of COVID and people that we know and love that have gotten it and passed away and everything. So it's really a good opportunity to extend that olive leaf and work with your tenants to, try to establish some line of communication and go back to the uncomfortable conversation of the rent and try to work out a partial payment plan. A lot of the tenants that we have within our portfolio are already doing payment plans for their rents. So if they can't pay the full $2,000 a month, they're at least paying $500 or they're paying $1,500. It's a different environment and it's changing rapidly. And the most important thing with these properties is you want the income coming in. That's how we all live to facilitate owning these properties. So communicate with your tenant, try to work with them, try to get something coming in, knowing that you're really restricted on the ability to get your full rent or potential eviction. That's not going to happen until next year. So think about that, establish lines of communication, and try to work through the tenant situation to basically benefit your pocketbook. Next would be to encourage payment plans. If you're an individual owner, you know, that's great. It's awesome to manage your properties individually, but you have to get in with the current situation that's going on in the economy. We fortunately did a software transition to AppFolio. It's basically the newest and the best property management software out there for the last 5 or 10 years. And, you know, with that, we have some advantages of, you know, being able to instantly track how many people are paying online. You know, about 80, I think it's 87% of all of our tenants, they pay via the app and they pay it online. So another thing you might want to do as an owner trying to combat, you know, what's going on in property management right now is look into these services. You want to be able to make it super easy for your tenants to pay. And if they can pay with a credit card and the money gets in your pocket, let them pay the interest on that. You know, let it get into your pocket instead of that check or physically getting it, and make it super easy for the tenants to actually pay your rent, because everyone's super conscious of that these days. In fact, we all know through the news these days that the Postal Service, it's a mess. You know, mail is running late. I think we've felt this for years here in our office. Try to abandon all that stuff, but you need to go digital. You need to make it super easy for your tenants to pay. You get the information even faster, and it's critical for you to do that at this time, given the circumstances of the real estate industry right now. So encourage that. So want to touch base back with the discount for the amount due on vacating the premises. It's a really great strategy that you want to use as an apartment building owner right now. Because the COVID housing stabilization passed, our hands were tied. You know, we thought or we were hopeful that September 1st meant we could go back to evicting tenants. They were going to be forced to pay their full amount of rent. And we were only left with this like April through August balance that was kind of up in the air. So that didn't happen. You know, legislation passed and now our hands are tied again. We're really looking at February, March of next year that you can really combat any of this. And the scary part is that further regulation may happen. You know, we don't know what's going to go on with the economy. We may find that we make it to January, we think we're going to be able to start evicting these tenants, and new legislation passes, or the state of California allows the local governments again to pass further restrictive guidelines for multifamily properties. So think about that. Make sure you're conscious with that. And if you have these tenants that aren't paying, I'd rather you deal with a vacancy that's on the rise and maybe getting less amount in rent that you think your property's worth than having a non-paying tenant in there for another 5 to 6 months, potentially another year. So think about that. You probably want to offer these some type of concessions or discounts in lieu of the tenant vacating, or some type of payment plan, or they pay a lump sum and you give them some type of discount. It's important to just be aggressive right now and have that constantly on your mind and establish the communication with your residents so you can just combat what's going on. With the vacancies, you know, I'm going to kind of go into what I feel is going to happen in the marketplace within the next couple of years, because we saw this coming. You know, income properties for years have felt way overpriced to me. You know, if I manage these assets for our clients, and if you're out there buying something at a 2 cap or a 3 cap, in our realm of property management, you know, you're one blown out water heater away from a nonprofit building. You know, the margins just aren't there, the returns aren't there. They've already been buying properties at really high prices. So interest rates have kept things down. It's a great time to be loaning money because interest rates are so low. But I really feel this is going to be a shift in the real estate market as a whole, because landlords are more frustrated with being unable to control their returns on their investments due to these state and local ordinances. And your tenants aren't paying, vacancies are on the rise. It's like the perfect storm for the real estate industry to have some type of correction, in my opinion. So keep that in mind. Another indicator that I've seen recently is just we're seeing more properties hit the market. You know, more and more owners are putting their properties on the market at those same high prices of pre-COVID, and the market's, you know, building with more properties on the market, and then they're not selling as quickly and as fast because all of our investors are really holding on to their cash, and they're anticipating a correction in the market, and maybe there'll be opportunities to purchase properties at discounted prices in the next couple of years. So think about that. That's what I feel, you know, globally is probably going to happen in the next couple of years. We're definitely going to have implications from this. And I'm strictly just today talking about multifamily properties. It's far worse for our retail centers, where the tenants have not been able to pay, the businesses have not been able to be open. We're seeing it in our office buildings where, you know, people are working from home now. You no longer need a bunch of office space if your staff is working remotely from home. So this is going to trickle down to all of us, unfortunately. The good thing is, for those of us that love income properties and we want to buy more of them, I want to be just like my clients and live off of the passive income, is there are going to be opportunities that come in the near future. And, you know, hopefully there'll be market corrections that allow more of us to get into the investor realm with that. Wanted to jump back real quick and go to the vacancies, because that's what I feel is the pulse that we have right now managing all these properties. And it's something that we've really seen within the last 45 days is the spike in vacancies. And keep in mind that again, 68% of our portfolio that we track, they're moving for financial reasons. You know, they lost their job, they're moving in with their parents, they're you know, what we saw in 2008 is you have two people that rent 2 bedrooms, and they'll, you know, move into a 1-bedroom to save that money. Or they'll downsize from the 3-bedroom unit to save a couple of $100 a month and go to a 2-bedroom. So, you know, we're definitely seeing this. And if over 2/3 of our tenants within the last 45 days are moving based on those financial reasons, it's not like a bunch of them are buying houses and different things. That's an indicator of what's going on in the economy as a whole. So if you're facing some vacancies in your portfolio right now with your properties, do that market survey. Make sure you're aggressive on what you're doing. Focus on the occupancy, not on what you have a perceived amount of what the rent should be, because likely it's already changed, and it's changed COVID times. Another thing with your vacancies that we've kind of adapted to, and I don't see out in the marketplace with a lot of the owners, is we have a new leasing environment. This is COVID. You know, April and May, we were scrambling to try to show vacancies because people didn't even want to come out of their house. They were only moving for extreme circumstances. And everyone is hypersensitive to COVID right now, and then also having a face-to-face interaction with their leasing agent. And we're all following the CDC guidelines, and make sure if you don't know them, get that information, follow CDC guidelines for showings. But what you found is, I think the statistic I heard the other day is that more than 70% of potential tenants in the marketplace are adverse to having that physical one-on-one contact. So if you have AppFolio as your software, great. You probably already know about the remote lock boxes that you get the tenant's ID and you can give them a code for 15 minutes and they can see the vacancy. But if you're a regular owner, maybe think about investing in those lock boxes so that you can get the information that's perfectly safe and your prospective tenants feel comfortable coming to see your vacancy. Other things to do right now, if you've had vacancies, you know that Zillow started charging. That was July. So a lot of the tenants haven't realized that. So they're still using Zillow to search for their vacancies. Yeah, you're putting it on a bunch of other websites. That's fine. But a good percentage of our tenants before July came from Zillow and currently still come from Zillow. So what's happening is the tenants still think Zillow is the avenue to look for an apartment building to rent. And because Zillow started charging, you know, naturally us as property owners, we don't want to pay. A lot of the owners are not paying the $10 a week to advertise their vacancies on Zillow. It'll probably change. We've seen this happen so many times. You know, we used to even use Craigslist, and there were a lot of these websites that were the avenues of tenants finding out where they're going to rent their property. So right now, you know, give it another 6 months, there'll probably be a new free website that becomes the best one. But realize that a good percentage are coming from Zillow. And if you have vacancies, pay that money now. It's highly worth it because you have a glut of vacancies that are not on Zillow because the landlords don't want to pay. And that's a really good avenue to help you, you know, combat your occupancy and vacancy factor right now. So think about that. If you're an individual owner, what you might want to do is also do the virtual tours. You can simply take it with your iPhone. You know, you walk through the apartment, you can even do FaceTime with the vacancies right now. That's another way to help with the showings of the vacancies that you have. And it's gonna, you know, decrease the adverse situation for a prospective tenant that's scared of COVID or is scared of being out there with that. And your focus is the rental right now, is stabilizing that income, getting the money coming back into your pockets. And then, you know, finally, what I wanted to go over with you guys is just, I want you to brace for this. You know, this feels like the 2007 to me. I feel like that we've only started to see what's going to happen with the economy. We're definitely adapting and changing to what's going on within the real estate industry. And it's a precursor of what we're feeling right now in the marketplace of what's going to happen in the near future for all of us. And it's going to impact all of what we do, from the sales realm to you know, ownership, management, and just real estate in general. So I want you guys to brace yourself. It feels like we have you know, hurdles and challenges that are coming up that we all need to be informed. We need to understand what laws are potentially going to pass. We need to be very transparent with the marketplace of what's happening with vacancies, and we need to adapt to those trends that are happening faster than everyone else, so we make sure that we protect our investments. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I will put up my contact information, and my email's there. If you want any of the information or the slides or anything that I talked about today, you know, shoot me an email or give me a call. I'll gladly send that over to you guys. I want everybody to be informed, and I want you to have the information that helps you out. Do we have any questions, or you want to bounce back to Stephanie? Stephanie's on lunch break.
Brian, I have a quick question.
Sure.
This is David. Do you think, okay, so I mean, if push comes to shove and like landlords aren't getting their money, and let's say, you know, they own like a small 10 unit or smaller, do you think there's any chance, is there any past history that might kind of predict maybe some landlord just saying, you know what, screw it. If like these people aren't following, and let's say they're not paying rent, right? The tenants, do you think there's any chance of just like, you know what, I'm just gonna get someone to take all their crap out and then just change the locks and then see what happens?
Yeah, that's.
I know it's extreme, but.
great grandfather in the 70s or something. They could get away with that. Well, ironically, I have a good friend that owns some buildings in Arizona, and that's actually why she left downtown LA and started buying there, because you get evictions so much faster. You can take off their front door. You can do all kinds of crazy things. Unfortunately, in LA with California, everything that's going on, our tenants are savvy. You can look online and, especially when tenants fight you for eviction, there's a whole map out there. Okay, if I file this ex parte now, and I request a jury trial, that buys me another 2 months, and then I file a bankruptcy, that's going to be another 60 days. And they basically spell it out if you're getting an eviction of how to milk the system and get 8 or 9 months of not paying your rent before the landlord can get you kicked out of the system. So I would not professionally, advise anyone to do something that's scary, just because there are a lot of legal repercussions that could happen. In fact, if you're providing utilities, you have to provide utilities. And there are a lot of attorneys out there. We unfortunately get sued all the time for all kinds of frivolous stuff that tenants make up and that happens in our industry. And it's very easy for them to find an attorney and then go back to sue the owners for some type of punitive damages or negligence, and those are negligence is not covered in your insurance policy. So even if you have this belief that because you did something to the tenant that they come back and they sue you, you think you're going to file an insurance claim, and basically the insurance company is not going to pay and you fight that lawsuit. So although I personally would like to do that, I can't recommend it. Not in California. It's a little too crazy.
Brian, there is another question in the chat box from Jenny Liu. It says, can you comment on AB 3088? It's more geared towards commercial evictions.
So I heard of it and I followed it, but I don't think I'm informed enough to give a real good response on it. But if you want, so a couple of months ago, this was scary stuff. We were talking before the speeches that, they were looking at basically wiping out all commercial. Everything was open for negotiations. California was going to pass this, that every commercial tenant could basically renegotiate their rent. That was crazy stuff that's going on. And fortunately, that didn't pass. It got defeated. But there are a lot of different regulations that are coming out all over the place right now. And I've heard of it. I have some information upstairs. I don't want to comment on it because I don't want to tell you something that's inaccurate. But definitely with our commercial tenants, I know back, March, April, May, I'm thinking of a shopping center that we had with a bunch of restaurants and no one was open. And, it's going to be scary when we can go back to a stabilized situation where people can go to restaurants and they can actually go out and do stuff and solicit the service industries like nail salons and dry cleaners and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be a different environment, and it's impacted the retail realm, tremendously. I have personally felt that retail is, with Amazon and everything that's gone on the last 5 to 10 years, it's changed, and just try to adapt to it, I guess is my comment. But Jenny, if you want to email me, I'll give you the information that I have upstairs, and then I'll also research a little bit and make sure that I give you some informed and not the wrong information. Comments, questions, complaints?
Yeah, if anyone wants to ask a question in the chat box, if that's easier, feel free.
So I might as well pitch our services while we're here. I know many of you are real estate brokers. You know, I'm a broker too. I sell a couple apartment buildings a year, but nothing crazy. Our core is property management. So if you're part of the board, we work with agents all the time. A lot of, you know, people will refer us. So there's zero conflict with us. You know, if you bring your client over to us, we actually offer the first month of whatever that management fee is referral. But, you know, more importantly, we sign a confidentiality clause with each one of those agents. So you never worry that we're going to try to sell the building for the owner and take away your client. In fact, we have a whole system here in the office that if you relist your client's property, we actually do everything for you. You know, we're doing the estoppel certificate, scheduling all the inspections, you know, termite report, everything else. So we can actually take care of all of that stuff for you, and we'd love to partner with you and work with you guys and have you guys know that there's zero conflict regarding your potential sale for the apartment with your clients.
We have one additional question, Brian, from Kathleen.
Great.
Says, what is your best estimate of the LA vacancy rate at this time?
Good question. So, you know, I've been following this, and we, you know, I guess probably a good 1,000 of our units are greater LA. So I would guess the vacancy, and we felt the last couple of years, we all enjoyed the 2% or less that was happening. I suspect right now we're probably at a good 5 to 6 for LA. And also think of the sub-market of what's going on, because an exciting, fun thing to do is go look downtown right now. You know, there have been so much development in downtown LA. And you have like these A grade properties, the B grade, C grade, D grade. So little subjective question on what I feel the vacancy is for each of those submarkets. But, you know, look right now on Zillow and all the leasing and check out what's going on downtown. Those people have already slashed their rents 20 and 25%. Like, you can actually get deals in downtown because they have a lot of vacancies. The economy is trashed, and you have this higher end product, you know, this A grade product. They're paying $2,500 a month maybe for a 1-bedroom, and people don't want to pay that anymore, you know, or they've lost their jobs and they're mass exodus. So those buildings are really impacted. I think we'll see numbers come out in the next couple of months that they're probably pushing 10% or around there. Another thing that I might give you guys, so, you know, I think probably the rent control properties, people don't necessarily move because the rent's low. The higher grade properties in those high end areas, especially when it's been overdeveloped, in my opinion, they're fighting each other for every tenant, you know, and they're offering concessions and free rents, and, you know, they're throwing in everything to try to just snag the rent at a 70% of what they felt the market was, you know, 6 months ago. So those are definitely higher, and it's going to affect the higher end properties like first, you know, because people are no longer willing to pay that. But yeah, it's a crazy time.
Yeah. So Brian, would you say like most people are essentially downgrading? You know, if you were at a A, you're going to a B. When your lease expires, and we go from a B to a C. And if you go from a C, you just go home to your parents or go back to the state you came from.
Yeah, that's like our property in Fullerton. You know, it's close to the college, and, you know, college is an online thing now. You know, and we had mass exodus, and, you know, people, if you're already stuck at home, you're not able to get out. You know, the unemployment is all-time highs right now. You know, people are just conscious of that. And I was talking to a friend that owns some buildings in the San Francisco area the other day, and what they're feeling in those super high-end areas is that people are no longer willing to spend the money even if they have it. And now you have people that work remotely from home. You know, our office here, there's a bunch of people, and we all work from home. You know, we set everybody up, you know, they're visiting properties and everything. Even the accounting department's on a rotation, and they're able to work from home. So I think people are also, the last 5 or 10 years, if things were good, okay, I'm going to spend the money. I want to live in, little Tokyo downtown and be able to walk to all kinds of fun things, and they'll spend that money. And now everyone's super price conscious, even if they didn't lose their jobs or they have some financial impact. And as I was like trying to get the statistics for everything that's going on, I tracked every tenant that moved out, that we had for the last 45 days. And we're trying to wrap our brain about, what's going on, why are these tenants moving? How are we renting to the new tenants? Because it's a completely different environment than we had before. And you just need to have that information and be able to adapt to it. So absolutely, I agree with you. People are consolidating, they're moving in with friends, they're downsizing to save money. It's the current situation that's going on.
Any other questions out there?
Nope.
All right. Yeah, then Brian, thank you so much for giving us all that good information. And I would say, like, just to piggyback off of, what you're saying, it seems like, sorry, I lost my train of thought, but, thank you for everything. Thank you for speaking to us and giving us all the new information. Did you post up your contact information?
Yes.
Do you want to do that again?
Did. Thank you
Wants
guys.
to talk to Brian, if they have any business to refer to him with any of your clients, definitely feel free to do that. And I also wanted to just promote next month. We're going to have, actually, I'm going to be speaking next month on letters of intent, and that's going to be October 1st. So definitely come join that. And yeah, if you have any last questions, it's your chance. And here's Brian's contact information. All right, well, then thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian.
Yep. Thanks, David. See you soon.